Right, it finishes Chelsea 1, Inter Milan 1 at Stamford Bridge this afternoon. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the last chance you are going to get to see from Enzo Maresca's Chelsea before the real thing starts. And it doesn't get much more real than Pep's Manchester City on the opening day of the season. I feel like we've seen some defensive vulnerabilities so far this pre-season from Chelsea. I feel like we've seen a lot of positives. I feel like there have been positives from today that may well have gone under the radar, so we'll speak about them. But first, we will speak about the starting 11 that Enzo Maresca fielded. But people, before we do all that, welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, at the end of the video, if you like the content and you want to see more from myself, please do hit that subscribe button. If you hit that subscribe button, you will be one of the 100,000+ because we finally reached it. I've cleared the wall. I'm going to get some shelves up here and we're going to get the little YouTube plaque thing, the silver thing you get when you get 100k. I don't know, I'm new to all of this, but I'm absolutely buzzing. So thank you guys so much. Let's get into the video. Right, so you can see the team that Enzo Maresca started with on screen now, starting with Robert Sanchez in goal. Now, the fact that we have seen more of Robert Sanchez than we have of Jorgensen since Jorgensen came in and was available to play in the team would lead me to believe, I should say, that Enzo Maresca does, for now, see Robert Sanchez as the starting goalkeeper, and that does concern me because I don't actually think that he's good enough to be our starting goalkeeper if we are to really not have so many mistakes coming from the goalkeeper this season. However, you've got to be fair and pay the respect where it's due, and on today's showing he was pretty good. He didn't have any real bad moments, one or two nice passes from himself into the midfield which went straight past the defensive line, and one or two decent saves. One or two of those saves are saves that you would expect him to make, but if he has underwhelmed in the past, we've got to give him the credit for when he does make those saves. Now, obviously, as you can see it... That is so annoying. Can anyone hear that? Car alarm going off right outside the house. It stopped. I'm going to continue. You can see I've got this as like a flat back four, but Marc Cucurella did push up into the midfield at times, inverting, but it wasn't so much so what we had seen from the Chelsea side in earlier pre-season, you know. When we speak about like the first game against Wrexham, we were talking about Reece James inverting. Did he really invert? Did he even invert, or was he just in that midfield? Because not that often he was getting back to that right back position. And then I think that we saw with a bit more class in the Celtic team we played, and a good manager obviously in Brendan Rodgers who would have them tactically set up in the right way to do so. When they were cutting the ball out in midfield, Reece James did not have the legs to get back at that moment in time into the right back position. So I always felt we were going to be better off inverting the left back, and I very much see that being the case. Now, it's good that Malo Gusto got on the field today and looked lively, whipping a few good balls into the box because Reece James is currently injured. And even if he wasn't injured, he's not available for the first match anyway. Enzo Fernandez, he looked decent. Romeo Lavia, maybe not as good as he's looked all pre-season, but not a bad game for him. Noni Madueke, Dewsbury Hall, Mudryk, and Mark Yu. Now, straight from the start, I thought we did look a better side in this one, especially when you have Marc Cucurella. And in the early stages, there were a few moments that gave me enough confidence to suggest that defensively, we will be way less vulnerable with Marc Cucurella in the side. And from one Spanish mark to another Spanish mark, we nearly, very nearly opened the scoring because Marc Cucurella bursts up the left-hand side. He puts the ball onto Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. Now, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall almost looks like he could have run himself into a little bit of trouble there, but he does manage to squeeze the ball back to the other Spanish mark, Mark Yu, who takes it first time on the left foot and draws a very good save from Jan Sommer in the Inter goal. And Chelsea do continue to threaten a little bit after that, but at that moment in the match and at this moment in time, just didn't look like they had enough class. Maybe a little bit of individual brilliance in there to unlock that Inter defence, which was quite tight. 25 minutes or so into the game, the man that I was worried about, Thuram, he breaks on us, or Inter break on us. Ball comes across, Colwell can't get across quick enough to him, and he rifles one into the top corner. No real slight on Robert Sanchez in that one, because whether it was Sanchez in goal, Petrovic in goal, I don't really care. They probably would have conceded there. It was a good shot, and Inter go 1-0 up. 37 minutes in, the two Spanish marks link up again, although I'm not sure it's completely intentional from Cucurella's behalf. Ball drops on the edge of the area to him. He hits it on the half volley. It's a decent shot. I think it's probably going wide, But Mark Hughes sees the opportunity to stick out a toe, get that toe on the ball, and maybe then deflect it off the pathway of the goalkeeper, who's already starting to dive for it. But Jan Sommer, who, by the way, has got to have been Inter's man of the match today, he was really, really good. He manages to readjust and manages to make the save. But I'm seeing enough there from Chelsea, although we're not dominant. I'm seeing enough there to think, okay, we're going to get something from this game, I feel. Palmer, Nkunku, Caicedo, and a few others coming at half-time, and most of the good work in that second half did come through those boys. You know, Cole Palmer, what's he operating at? 25%, something like that. He ain't played a game in a month, but I tell you what, every time he got the ball, he looked calm on it, composed, classy, smooth, silky, all the words we would use to describe the boy. I absolutely love him. But the thing that impresses me the most about him is when he gets on the ball, he's constantly looking to create. He's not looking to do a sideways pass and see if someone else can do something better. He very much has the confidence to always step up and say, I will be the man to slip something through. I will be the man to put a ball through that could split the lines, could create an attack, could end up leading to a goal. And even this version of him that, as I say, hasn't played since the Euro final and has only really just been back training and whatnot, you can tell that he was the most sort of deadly player on the pitch in that second half. I mean, my main question is, where's he going to play, to be honest? Because when Maresca came in, I looked at the system we were playing, especially in those first couple of pre-season games where we had those two floating eights, and I thought Cole Palmer would be really, really good in that role. You often see the best out of some of these creative players, like an Nkunku, when they come a little bit more central, especially if they're not a touchline hugging winger who's going to be running at players. You see Cole Palmer when he gets on the ball, he's walking for the most part when he gets on the ball, but he has got the quality to be able to walk around the pitch and still be a game changer, you know. So interesting to see him on the right hand side. When you look at it, listen, I really rate Madueke. I think he's had a good pre-season, and I think he's a very, very important option for us in the squad. We've got to remember, people, I understand that we're going to have a bit of a cull of players because we've just got way too many, but at the same time, if we've got as many as last season, a couple more than last season, that's not going to be too bad because we could play up to 75, 80 odd games this season or something. So Madueke will be an important one, but I do think Cole Palmer's obviously ahead of him at this moment in time. Now, in the second half, there was a couple of moments. Sanchez made a couple of saves, but the main part that nearly got me right out my seat and would have been the best goal of pre-season so far is that moment from Nkunku, and he channels his inner Wayne Rooney with that bicycle kick. The ball comes into the box. I think it's Palmer that whips in the free kick, just sort of, well, I say whips it in, he just dinks one in from the edge of the box. It meets an Inter player's head first, but then it drops, and Christopher Nkunku takes it on the bicycle kick. He places it perfectly. It's got both power and speed on the shot that's accurate. It's going in the bottom corner, and again, Jan Sommer comes across, gets the right hand to it. Definitely Inter's player of the match for me, if I'm being completely honest. And then right at the end, the substitute star boy, Cole Palmer, nearly scores a goal. Raheem Sterling, who had also come off the bench at this point, gets on the edge of the box, puts one in. He puts it along the floor, I should say. Cole Palmer, side-footed finish, just wide. If he was a week sooner back into his progress, that one goes in. But unfortunately, wasn't able to be. And I looked there and I thought, you know what, it's probably going to finish 1-0 Inter. I'm going to speak about this match. There are going to be some positives to come of it. And ultimately, Chelsea, I want to say dominated the play, because when you look at the possession stats, you wouldn't say they dominated, would you? But at the same time, I feel like we're in control of the match, but I feel like the context of being one down changes everything, because if you're 1-0 up and you're playing like that, then you're very much happy. You're 1-0 down, you're playing like that, then you're not happy, you know? But either way, it didn't matter, because right towards the end, I spoke about the substitutes that came on and made the difference in the second half. Well, it was a man that came on in the 80th minute, grabbed his second goal of pre-season after being on the pitch for about 7 or 8 minutes, and that is Leslie Ugochukwu. And I've actually just realised this was the moment. Sorry, people, it was my 30th last night. I had a few drinks. But anyway, now I've realised on reflection that this was where Cole Palmer dinked in that little chipped ball from the outside of the box, the free kick. Leslie Ugochukwu, he just rifles one in with the right foot. So we've seen him place one in with the left foot in pre-season against... Who was that against? That was against Wrexham, wasn't it? First game. Now we've seen him rifle one in with the right foot. Very interesting to see whether he'll be here at the start of this season or next season. I say at the start of the season, it's only next week, isn't it? God, week today. I'm excited for the Premier League, man. I really, really am. Match ends 1-1. The Chelsea fans that travelled to Stamford Bridge today, for the first time in a couple of months, have something to cheer about as they go home. And here are my main takeaways from the match. Starting off Marc Cucurella could well be our most important player. Now, let me distinguish the difference when I say most important player, our best player, highest ceiling, best potential, most talented, most effective, most important is probably Marc Cucurella. Now, you may look at that and you may say, hold on, how can you not say Cole Palmer is our most important player? Well, Cole Palmer is our best player and Cole Palmer is our most influential player probably. But here's the main thing. If Cole Palmer comes out the team, you can probably put Christopher Nkunku in a similar role, similar position to where Cole Palmer was playing, maybe even a Noni Madueke, and you're not going to get the same results because these two men, although I put Nkunku above Madueke a little bit, these two men are not as good at this moment in time or on the same sort of form as Cole Palmer is, but you don't have to change the system because these two men are filling in instead of Cole Palmer, because they might do it to a lesser extent, but they can offer you something along the lines of what Cole Palmer can offer you, obviously, albeit he's better at doing it. But we don't have anyone who can offer us what Cucurella offers us, okay? When we're talking about inverting fullbacks, I just said, right, Reece James, yes, he does the inverting thing when he was in midfield, and when we're comfortable and confident and on possession of the ball in a game, it looks good, but ultimately, he can't then really get back to defence at the same time. At this moment in his progression. Obviously, he's coming back from multiple injuries and he's got one at the minute. Malo Gusto looked half decent there, but I don't know whether he can do that. Viega, who we saw in the second half, looks like he might be able to do that, but Cucurella is the only one definitively that I say can play a really, really good game as an inverted fullback. I really rate the ability of him to be able to do that. And right now, at this moment in time, 26 years old, Euro winner, he is now not only one of our more senior players and one of our more experienced players in age and accomplishments, but also in the way he carries himself. Cucurella showed today, and he has shown in the second half of last season, that he really, really now has that self-belief. He's running on fumes. He understands that I'm the man now, and I'm not going to be denied, and I'm not going to be put off by the bright lights and what we sort of felt he was when he first moved to Chelsea. And by the way, I think he even had his home invaded and robbed when he first moved into Chelsea. When he first moved to Chelsea, sorry, something like that, and he had first moved into that home. And I think I was somewhat negligent of even realising that and factoring in the human element of it when I spoke about him sort of underperforming in his initial time at Chelsea Football Club. But right now, the player that we are seeing there, as I say, is probably our most important, because without him, we are such a lesser team. And I used to say that about Reece James all the time. Now I'm saying it about Cucurella all the time. So how things change, eh? We saw the class from Cole Palmer today, who was at, as I say, 20, 25%, something like that. And the intensity in training between now and the Man City match needs to be something that we look at, because we have got such a better chance of beating Man City if we start with Cole Palmer and Nkunku on the pitch. The question is, do we start Neto? Would Maresca just gamble and just chuck him straight in there? And with his injury history, maybe you'd think that he'd look to ease him into that match. But at the same time, I don't know, it will make it hard for Pep to prepare, because if he doesn't start Neto, I tell you what, despite today's showing and despite him having a few more minutes, I can't see him starting Mudryk over Sterling. I think Sterling will be in there from the start over on the left-hand side over Mudryk, and obviously Pep Guardiola knows a lot more about Raheem Sterling, coached him for years, coached some of the best years of his career out of him, and therefore will be able to prepare his defence in terms of how to systematically deal with Sterling. Whether they're able to execute it and to do it on the day, that's a different question. But with Neto, you've got the unknown there. So will he have the bottle to just whack him in from the start? The fan in me would love to see it, but the smart money says that Sterling starts that match. Now, we saw Nicholas Jackson come back on. Didn't really see too much from him. And you always know what you're going to get from Nicholas Jackson. You're going to get hit and miss moments. And one or two of those showings each game will be brilliant. He'll do something mind-blowing, but he might do something a little bit off-key. That's why I call him the Enigma. His stats are very impressive. And some of the banter thrown around at him, albeit it might be funny, but a lot of it is not true. He's one of the better strikers in the Premier League. I'm telling you now, he's a really, really good player and could score goals for any Premier League club. Very good at taking the ball on the turn. And if maybe can be more clinical this season. When you look at the numbers he delivered last season, he could be a striker that hits 18 to 22 goals or something like that in the league next season. What did he get last season? 15, 16, something like that? I can't even think now. But either way, I think he'll get better. However, he is just coming back from an ankle sprain. And what we have seen in Mark Gue throughout pre-season now, and definitely the intensity today of doing it in front of the Stamford Bridge crowd for the first time, where he gave a really good showing of himself and definitely would have endeared himself to the Chelsea faithful, is that Mark Gue is a pressing monster. His acceleration and willingness to commit when it comes to pressing and closing down the defence is something that is going to create a lot of opportunities for this Chelsea side this season, whether it's directly for him in terms of him pressing, winning the ball and scoring a goal, or it's just a case of Nkunku and of Cole Palmer and whoever's on that left-hand side, possibly Neto, just being alert and understanding that when he goes, you follow him, because he is going to create a lot of chances. He's going to nick a lot of balls off of the last defender, off of the goalkeeper, and there will be opportunities for our players to capitalise on there. So all in, I don't think this was either a massively great performance from us or a bad performance from us. I think we showed enough of what we already know. We have really good players, we have a lot of talent, we have the ability to dictate possession for large periods and create chances, but still at the moment maybe lack a little bit of clinicalness. I very much wonder whether the board are going to look at that and they're really going to hedge their bets and go for Osimhen now, because I was speaking only a couple of days ago about the fact that maybe we're more going for unproven names and whatnot, but we just went and got Pedro Neto, and the way it came out the blue showed me that it wasn't a thing of, Liverpool want him, Arsenal want him, quick, let's go and get him, like it saw or seemed to be when Clearlake first came in. It seemed a little bit more calculated. So maybe we go out, get a Victor Osimhen, maybe that changes everything. Maybe Jackson's more clinical, maybe Mark Gue really thrives in his first season. We got the new boy Samu coming in. Who knows? Look, there's too many players for me to even keep count with. But either way, defensively looked a little bit better today. It will be tested way more against the ruthless Man City side. So me and Josh will be in the studio this week. We will preview that Man City game. But until then, smash the like on the video, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you all in the next one.